You think you know Oz? Think again. Behind the magic lies a world of political intrigue, social unrest, and chilling truths that will change how you see the yellow brick road forever. To understand the true history of the Wizard of Oz, we must enter a time machine and walk down history lane to the late 1800s, a time just before The Wonderful Wizard of Oz was published. Between 1870 and the early 1900s, the world was filled with economic, social, and political upheavals, which many believe influenced L. Frank Baum's writings. In an era when it was difficult to speak up against injustice, satire and fiction became powerful allies. For L. Frank Baum, the stage had already been set by the injustices he had witnessed, from industry workers desperate for better pay to farmers slaving away in the sun. These experiences laid the groundwork for the characters that would one day walk the yellow brick road. The wizard himself was not simply a figure who pulled levers and created illusions. In reality, he represented a very particular class of individuals, the politicians of the day. In the late 1800s, politicians were widely regarded as corrupt individuals driven solely by self-interest. They would say whatever was necessary to win public support, but once in power, they rarely delivered on their promises. Like the Wizard of Oz, they projected fantasies to the masses, luring them with dreams of a better future that never materialized. When Dorothy and her companions embarked on their journey to find the wizard, they did so in the hope that he could grant their deepest wishes. But in the end, they found that the wizard's interpretation of their needs was not what they had expected. Similarly, the masses found themselves deceived by the politicians they had trusted. L. Frank Baum understood this dynamic well. Before becoming a celebrated writer, he worked as a department store window designer. Through years of experience, he had learned that human beings are irresistibly drawn to glitz, glamour, and illusions. Baum used his understanding of human psychology to create a wizard who could mirror the desires of many, all while offering a subtle but biting critique of the powers that be. But the layers of meaning within the Wizard of Oz go even deeper, especially when examining the companions Dorothy meets along her journey. The Scarecrow, at first glance, seems like nothing more than a fairy tale character seeking a brain. However, his story carries a sharper, more somber allegory. The Scarecrow represents the American farmer of the late 1800s, hard-working, overlooked, and underestimated. Farmers were often seen as simpletons, deemed incapable of understanding the economic and political forces that governed their lives. They were portrayed as docile laborers, toiling away under the blazing sun, while the elites gathered in opulent boardrooms to dictate their futures. Although farmers were anything but stupid, this was the perception created by the ruling classes, much like the Scarecrow's own self-doubt about his intelligence. While the Scarecrow was grappling with perceived brainlessness, the Tin Woodman was on a quest for a heart, a quest that reveals one of the saddest tales hidden within Oz. After his encounter with the Wicked Witch of the East, the Tin Woodman lost his emotions and became an empty, mechanical shell. This character mirrors the fate of industrial workers in the late 19th century. In the wake of the Industrial Revolution, legions of workers flooded into the newly forming financial industries, what we might call the dominion of the Wicked Witch of the East. In the endless pursuit of the gold standard and corporate profits, workers were forced to labor long hours in harsh conditions, often losing their individuality and humanity in the process. Over time, they became machines themselves, just as hollow and heartless as the Tin Woodman. Following the Tin Woodman is the Cowardly Lion, another figure laden with historical symbolism. Traditionally, lions are seen as bold and courageous rulers, yet the Cowardly Lion is anything but. He has the look, the mane, and the roar, but lacks the courage to act when it matters most. This character is widely believed to represent William Jennings Bryan, a charismatic presidential candidate who ran in 1896 and 1900. Known for his powerful speeches and passionate rhetoric, Bryan could stir a crowd like few others, much like a lion's mighty roar. However, despite his soaring words, he ultimately failed to secure the presidency, falling short of delivering real change. The Cowardly Lion's dilemma reflects Bryan's real-life struggle between public expectation and personal limitation. And then there is the Wicked Witch of the East, one of the most compelling and chilling characters in Baum's story. Many readers assume she is merely a fictional villain, but she actually embodies the crushing financial pressures faced by ordinary people during the Industrial Revolution. The rise of powerful financial industries, the banks and Wall Street elites, cast a long shadow over everyday workers and farmers who found themselves living under a new form of economic servitude. Just as the Wicked Witch terrorized the Munchkins and demanded obedience, so too did the emerging financial class manipulate and control the lives of the working poor. Hold your breath, because the story of Dorothy is perhaps the most personal and heartbreaking layer of all. Everyone knows Dorothy Gale as the bright, brave girl who traveled beyond the rainbow. But behind her fictional adventures lies a real and tragic inspiration. After marrying, L. Frank Baum and his wife Maud had 4 sons. Yet Maud longed for a daughter. Her wish was finally answered when her sister gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Dorothy Gage. Maud quickly grew attached to her niece, treating her like the daughter she had always wanted. Tragically, Dorothy Gage died at just 5 months old on November 11th, 1898. Maud was devastated, and Frank, determined to ease his wife's grief, immortalized the lost child by naming his beloved heroine after her. Dorothy's journey through Oz thus became a tribute to a life that ended far too soon. Oz is not just a whimsical world of magic and wonder. Beyond the rainbow, a reality filled with manipulation, betrayal, and disillusionment awaited. And though many are unaware, we still live in that world today. Like the Scarecrow, the Tin Woodman, and the Cowardly Lion, we continue to chase illusions, running after wealth, status, and promises that seldom come true. Meanwhile, unseen wizards pull the levers behind the curtains of power, making decisions that shape our lives without our consent. Yet within each of us, there is a Dorothy, a spirit seeking truth, longing for freedom, and hoping to find a place where dreams are not just illusions, but achievable realities. Perhaps one day, when we finally confront the wizards of our own time, we too will step beyond the rainbow and into a world where all our dreams can come true.